Hey, it's Austin here. This episode is coming out a few days later, and I apologize for that. I recently got married, went on my honeymoon, and then I've been getting back into the rhythm of my routine. But I want to say a couple things. One, we have some incredible episodes coming out soon. We have some two-parters that will be very eye-opening, I believe, in how my brain works and just the development of thoughts and ideas that I have. We have some new guests, people from outside of the faith, coming on to share their points of view of the church, politics, or cultural moment, etc. There's really a great way for you to witness me stepping in literally into the fray with someone of a different point of view and having a conversation, how that goes down in my personal life. But it'll also give you a chance to hear from somebody else with a different point of view, and you get to hear and experience what those conversations I'm having in my real life are like. Along with that, we're also having some returning guests who would really add a unique value to the podcast with some of their older episodes. So no, we have episodes pre-recorded. They're ready to go out. We're not running behind. I know this episode's behind, but that's just a fluke in my scheduling. 2, on this episode today, you will be listening to me and Robby have a conversation that's pretty vulnerable. We tackle topics like gun control, abortion, and how each other vote. But I want to be clear, this podcast is a resource, but it's not objective like absolute truth, all right? The goal has always been for you to listen and it to cause good conversations. Remember that first episode. And today you may hear what I say or Robby says and think that's completely wrong. How could they believe that? And I just want you to know that that is okay. Our goal is to enter into these tough, complicated, nuanced conversations and explore where God is taking us. And you may disagree. You may have pushback. And that's a good thing that should be celebrated. We hope that you are encouraged by this episode and it's something you share with a friend or a family member or a coworker to start up a good conversation. It really sparks deep thinking and self-examination and just development. You know, that's part of this journey that we are on as Christians is we're trying to be formed into the image and likeness of Christ. We're trying to grow as human beings into the people God has called and created us to be. And in order to do that, we have to step into these uncomfortable moments. Like with working out, you don't get stronger by doing comfortable things. You don't get stronger by never challenging yourself, right? The way you get stronger in the gym is the same way you're going to get stronger as a Christian, and that's by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, challenging your faith, exploring the doubt, the confusion, and really trying to explore where God is in all of that. So that's the goal. Lastly, thank you for listening to our podcast. Go like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Subscribe in your podcast feed, whether that's Apple or Spotify, and please leave us a rating and review. When you rate and review a show like ours, it goes up the ranking system and will connect with others like you who would enjoy and benefit from the conversations we are having here. This truly helps the show. Feel free to reach out and tell us what you think about the episode, what topics you'd like us to discuss on the next one, and more. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Into the Fray. More of a personal question that I'm more interested in.
Okay.
We've never talked about it.
Okay.
So how do you prepare for the podcast?
How do I prepare? Complete trans. Let me just be very, very
5 minutes
transparent.
before
Yeah. It's not as much as I prepare for Sunday morning or Wednesday night teaching. No 15 or 20 hours going into no, but seriously, so if you don't know, when Austin kind of plans out the schedule and all, I'll look at it, and I do think about it kind of periodically, obviously a week or days before, but I pray through it. Sometimes I'll jot down a couple of scriptures that come to mind or thoughts kind of deal.
Yeah.
But I would rather it be, I mean, again, just being very blunt, I would rather it be like, I don't know what you're going to say at the very beginning. I don't know the questions. I don't know,
Yeah.
how you're going to open up. And I kind of like it that way because it's more conversational. Like if we were sitting down having a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to know how the conversation is going to be led into a topic or whatever. And I'd rather it be that way. Just feel more natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Berlin is sitting in here, so no lying. She knows.
It gives me a good excuse to buy more books.
Oh.
So there's that, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I usually, I'm thinking through different topics, and then I kind of try to plan them out in a way they flow better throughout the batch that we record. But then leading up to it, I'm going to try to find a book or two if I don't have one that I can just get a better understanding of. And usually when I'm reading a book, I get really hyped about that subject, and that helps for the podcast because then I'm like really interested. There's been episodes in the past where I wanted to have maybe a certain person on, or I wanted us to talk about something, but I wasn't as interested in it by the time it came to record.
Okay.
And so then I was just like, all right, let's get through this one
Yeah.
I'm really hyped about the next one.
Yeah.
But this one's kind of,
Well, is
And
the
so-
opposite true too? Like when you plan it out 6 weeks or ever how long it is, kind of thing, 6 episodes. That even initially you're like, man, this one I'm super excited about, and this one not so much. But then something happens for the not so much that kind of intensifies it, kind of ramps it
Yeah.
up to where like, okay, now I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, so I guess we're on this episode, Politics, Part 2. That wasn't in the schedule.
Yeah.
But after the first one,
Yeah.
we thought it was a good idea to like elaborate a little bit more on some different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we threw that in there. But we have an episode coming up, hopefully, about education, whether people should send public, private, Christian, whatever, or homeschool. I'm not super interested about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But after reading a book in preparation for the politics one, it sparked some more interest about the education one. I'm like, okay. And then having Berlin with me all the time, she is always talking about education and her thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And so as we've been talking about some politics around education, that again sparked some interest. I'm like, okay, now I'm amping up more for that episode. And then as we're recording this one, I'm reading a book about the transgender conversation. So I'm really hyped about that one.
Okay.
I definitely need more time because that is a whole different, that's a very heavy subject.
Weighty. Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about biology.
Sure.
I should have paid attention in middle school with that. Like that, I'm learning about the chromosomes, all that stuff. I'm like, gosh, now I see the benefit of paying attention in school.
Please do. Like I'm in there. Like it's funny you say that. So I'm in there now, and I'm putting like maps. I'm trying to find some maps to kind of go with illustrations for tomorrow. And I did not pay attention in geography, and apparently I'm like really horrible now in geography. And so even like that kind of stuff. It's like, yes, kids, please pay attention in school. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's funny, dude. Like even the opposite for me. Like so last week when we did part A of the politics, we got through it. And I thought it was good, and then I knew that education was coming up, and I thought it was this week, and so I was super excited. And then when you were like part 2, I was like, yeah, whatever you want to do, Austin. Like I was like, I wasn't as excited because I was like, I felt like again, it's extremely important, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I felt like we had kind of grinded through that one, and I was like, do we really revisit that? Like, let's just move on. But it's important, so yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll try to find a book or something to help me amp up for it and get my headspace back in that area. And then definitely checking certain podcasts to see if they have any material I can listen to while I'm at the shop.
Yeah.
And then there's been times when we've done the podcast where I've done this, and then times where I haven't. I'll go on the Google Docs and I'll just have a blank sheet and I'll just write out whatever my thoughts are.
Okay.
And part of that is just trying to get an intro together. Part of that's trying to see what I actually think about the subject before we record it for safety measures. And so I just, whatever I'm thinking of about that topic, it may not have anything to do with what we'll actually end up saying. I just start typing and see where my headspace is.
Yeah.
And that usually helps me realize, okay, you have a tendency to go on a long rant about this area over here that is probably not that helpful. Let's guard against going that way, and let's try to steer clear and go straight. And I'll
but
try to
one
do
of the
that.
things I really love about, I love a lot of dimensions of this podcast and just hearing your heart and thoughts and things of that nature. But one of the things I love is, I've heard you say it several times after the podcast, was like, you do all the prep and we know where we stand on these topics going into it. But the conversation itself, like how it kind of fleshes itself out in the podcast, doesn't always go according to plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that we waver from, where we stand or that sort of thing. But it's just, again, you're sitting down having a conversation. You kind of go into it with, okay, it's probably going to go this route, but if I bring something up or you do, then we just kind of go with it, like you would with any conversation. So.
Yeah, I get that. I know. I don't know about for you. For me, I can be overly cautious about what I say, and so there's a lot of anxiety about saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And part of that's just like my own insecurities. But then doing the podcast is a challenge, or even teaching in the youth group or wherever can be a challenge, because the whole job is like you communicating and you getting these thoughts and ideas out. And sometimes help writing all this stuff out sometimes before, it'll help me like kind of work through that, my own insecurities about of like, okay, why do you not want to share this? Is it because you're scared of offending people, or you're scared of being yourself? And so sometimes there's that helpful part of it, and I'm like, okay, Austin, like you gotta have some courage and confidence to say some of these things. Like, of course, people are going to disagree with. They're not going to agree with everything you say. No. Sometimes writing out helps me filter through like my own emotions about speaking, which is like when I don't really do it much for the youth anymore about like writing word for word what I'm gonna say. But when I preach, I'll write word for word out what I'm gonna say, and a lot of that is just like the trying to help me overcome that anxiety about speaking up, and because I have a lot of insecurity about looking stupid. Probably because I felt like for the longest time I did look stupid anytime I spoke up. And so now it's like, I don't know, just trying to work through all that. That was I wasn't expecting to say any of that, but okay.
Hey, just a word of comfort though. So like when I preach, which is typically, especially on Sundays, it's 40, 45 minutes or whatever kind of thing. I go into it knowing that I'm going to say something stupid within 40 or 45. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you just talk for that long, I'm bound to say something that I'm like, why did you say that? Or I wish I'd have said this kind of thing. But I think to your point, like planning it out, it's worship. Like my whole preparation, if we really do believe everything that we do, whether we eat or drink or whatever we do it for the glory of God, then it's an act of worship. And so for me, the preparation. And so for you, like working through, and me too, like working through exactly why I believe what I believe and what I'm going through, and working through those anxieties and everything else. That's part of worship, because you're confronting some things. There's some conviction, there's some insecurities you're dealing with, and you're bringing them before the Lord. You know what I mean? And so if it's writing it out or just walking through a text and practicing, whatever it is, kind of what your methodology in that is. I think it's extremely helpful. Yeah.
Even thinking about this episode, or like the politics 2 episodes, me getting those thoughts out, or even talking to Berlin about it, it does help me work through and identify, okay, maybe you have some hatred building in your heart towards like a certain idea, or I'm not going to say group of people, but like a party or whatever, or you have some like, I have maybe more anger towards one party than the other. And it helps me, like, as I'm talking to Berlin about it, she's like, okay. It'll help me identify, like, okay, you're going really hard on this one, and you're giving this one not as much of that same energy.
Yeah.
And so maybe you need to forgive some people over here and work on your anger and try to better understand what's actually going on. And that can be challenging because I don't know. I feel like politics is interesting because we get angry about certain policies or political movements or whatever for reasons. It's not like, I mean, maybe there are people out there who just, they want to be angry all the time. But they're usually like, there's a lot of baggage going along with it that shape and form that anger you have towards a certain idea or whatever. And having to work through that and be like, okay, I understand why you I guess one of the examples, I guess we're getting into it, hearing conservatives talk about the LGBTQ people.
Yes.
And sometimes just how like dehumanizing they are.
Yes.
And like, you know, I know during the Black Lives Matter rallies,
Yes.
Thing came up of you had the Black Trans Lives Matter. And people being like, feeling like the trans movement was kind of taking over an issue that should have been left alone or whatever. But then like you press in and you understand more so like, okay, well, trans people are getting like really like, I'm losing the word, but they're not being treated with respect just out on just the regular civilian streets. Like regardless of politics.
Yeah.
Like they're being murdered and abused and all this stuff, like, and crazy numbers. And then you have conservatives being like, okay, well, like, they just get angry at the fact that they're already mad about the Black Lives Matter part. But then they're even more mad about you throwing in trans into it too. Like, we don't want anything to do with that. And it's like, well, if you understood why, regardless of the situation, why they're using this moment to speak up, you'll understand that there's a lot of hurt and abuse that's going on towards them as well.
Yeah.
And if we're going to speak up about life, they're speaking up for their own lives of I don't know, that's just a moment where I like you start getting a little angry, because then I'm thinking about the trans people in my life, and I'm like, yeah, I know when they go to the bathroom, even if they went to the one that's biologically theirs, but they don't look that way anymore, you're gonna have some people angry. Like it can be impossible for them to go to either bathroom just because of how they look. Even if they went to they're just labeled and hated, and it makes you, as someone who loves them, very defensive, because then you're like, no, like there's good reason why they are speaking up right now.
Yeah.
I know that was a very...
No, not at all, dude. I mean, yeah, let's dive in. You said something earlier about why politics is such a hot button, I think. And I think for me personally, it's like any issue, but obviously since today's politics, one, with anything, it can be like, why are you so angry about this? What makes you so passionate about this? I mean, some of it can be very fleshly, sinful. I mean, we want to win an argument. We want to be right. You know, that there can be a lot of that. I'm not interested in hearing your side. I want to show you how wrong you are and how right I am. I mean, that's just true.
I've been that.
That happens a lot. To the other side, though, I mean, there should be a passion. And I think we said last time, or I think I said anyway specifically, that's not really been a big thing in my house growing up or even now. I mean, as far as politics go, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a big discussion, family gathering kind of thing. But the specifics about the politics, most definitely, because we come from a biblical side. You know what I mean? So, like, if we truly believe that every life matters, because just every life is sacred, because we are all made in the image of God, then we're going to address those, and it's going to overflow not just in obviously our home, but our schools or our communities And yes, it's going to then go into the voting booth. I mean, it's going to affect every place, and vice versa. You can't go into just the voting booth, and that's disconnected from how you live in the community. You know what I mean? Like it can't be that. To your point, though, like what's crazy, man, is I think like the example you gave with the black transgender specifically, like so for let me just I don't want to umbrella kind of thing. But like, so for conservatives, every life matters. So if we say that and we believe that, right, well then their life, whether you agree with them or not, you know what I mean? Like their sexuality or this or that or stance or whatever. Okay, well this again isn't if their life matters, that's not just a discussion about sexuality or marriage or politics or anything else. It's their life matters.
Yeah.
And so how they're being treated, how they're suffering, I mean, how we speak to them. Okay, again, love your neighbor as yourself. Guess what? I don't care what political party, they're your neighbor.
Yeah.
Are you loving them? I mean, that to me is the question. It again goes back to it, Austin. Man, if I truly believe they're made in the image of God, how I look at them.
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest, and it doesn't have to be just specific like for them kind of thing, but anybody. If I look at them and I'm judging based on the external or even their lifestyle or what they say or whatever, and no matter what that is, specifically sexuality or anything else, the point is they're made in the image of God, just like me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to treat them that way and love them that way. And yes, we're going to disagree in certain areas, and that's okay too. But I can lovingly disagree.
Yeah.
And still love them.
Yeah. I get that. What is? I think one of the things I just got done reading the book Jesus and John Wayne.
Yes.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the story of starting off reading it. I was like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes reading books like out the gate, especially ones like that where they're trying to paint a picture of history over a long span.
Yeah.
You're just getting filled with information. You're like, I don't understand how any of this matters.
Yeah.
But then by the end, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, chapter we'll go into mattered. But one of the things that came up in that book that Kristen was describing was how evangelicals, specifically white evangelicals, because they vote differently than black Protestants. That's just how it's been in our country because of the racial divide and a lot of times just black Christians not being included in white circles. But so white evangelical, she was talking about how it came across as if they're constantly wrestling with this idea of should we vote in a way to propel our movement forward, not even like white evangelicalism, but just like Christianity forward in our country, or should we vote in a way that doesn't even like consider whether we're getting a leverage or not.
Okay.
I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I've wrestled with that at times of there's a way, if we're building our kingdom, there's a way to go about that would be a little bit more strategic, and we'd get a lot places a lot faster, but it requires us to sacrifice some of our values and how we go about just living our lives in the public square. Because politics is not it can be kind of dog eat dog, I guess. And sometimes the things that are necessary for you to get ahead in politics in our country, just because of how the system is, it will require you to do some things that are a little shady, which I don't think that's news to anyone. We understand our country. But I think evangelicals are in this weird position where we have this set of values, Christian values, about how we're going to advance God's kingdom. But sometimes, because we're working in a kingdom that is not a kingdom of the world, that we're trying to figure out how to operate with God's kingdom values and a worldly kingdom, and sometimes I think it gets muddled, and we get caught up maybe more in the world's way of building the kingdom than God's. Does that make sense?
For sure. And I think, again, you said it, I think a lot of it is, I mean, you can take this to the mission field as far as when you break it down, like, so if there's closed countries, and so that's the legality aspect of it. But if I go there under the disguise, if you will, of a work profession or a student or whatever, but I'm gonna sneak in and then give it, you know what I mean? So there's that kind of like the ethical that you just really have to be very, you know, I'm getting the gospel in, but am I being deceptive, you know, like kind of thing. So I mean, there's a lot of that again you just have to kind of sift through. And as far as politics, for sure, I mean, there's, you know, you said something though about like the compromising, and that's just something like I think we talked about last time, and you brought up about Daniel. I just, again, like these, when we talk about convictions, not just in the voting booth, but anywhere else, it's like no matter what, I'm not compromising integrity. I'm not going to compromise the message and what I believe for the sake of the advancement.
Yeah.
You know, or to get a platform to where the greater, the bigger, whatever will kind of, you know, justify me kind of bending the rules here or there. I just think you lose.
Do you think it shows a lack of faith on our part when we start doing that? Of like we almost sound like sometimes like in the culture war debate, as if we really think Jesus is. There's a chance he could lose. Yeah. And I get, like, I think we talked about in the evangelism episode, like, we do need a sense of urgency.
Most definitely.
Like, we don't need to be passive Christians. We should be active Christians. But then there's a point maybe where that urgency goes too far, and we're like, by any means necessary.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, a passage just comes to mind where Paul's talking about evangelism, and he's like, I became a Jew for the Jews, and I became a Gentile to the Gentiles. And so people will even use that, you know. Well, Paul's not saying he's compromising his integrity or anything else, the gospel for sure, for the advancement or the opportunity to witness and see Jews come to faith in Christ, likewise for Gentiles. He's not saying that at all. But I think it's one of those things, like you said, when it comes to, okay, do we really believe that Jesus is king, that he's sovereign? You know, that no matter what, I don't have to do this. And again, you could break this down in any area, church life and how we do methodology and stuff and attracting people. I mean, you can do all that kind of stuff. It's like, do we really believe that he's in control and that he really doesn't need my help at all in anything to advance his kingdom? Yeah. You know? So therefore, I don't have to do anything manipulative or deceptive or whatever else for his, you know, kingdom to advance. And that for me, man, that's relief. Like, I don't have to worry about him needing my help, and therefore, you know, because he's not going to ask me to do something that goes outside of his character and his will in my life to get his will done on earth. That makes no sense.
So how do you, I guess I'm going to be asking some questions.
Give it to me, dude.
I remember in high school, maybe it was when I first became a Christian or like a little bit before that. I asked my youth pastor, because gay marriage had been legalized. Yes. I was like, why does it matter? Like, let them do, this ain't a Christian country. Yes. Why are we enforcing our values on them? And he was like, well, because you're a Christian. Like, that's why you vote the way you do or whatever. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Fast forward, maybe almost 15 years later, I'm kind of wrestling with that question again, not in the sense of like, it's a little different, maybe because it's just a little bit more thought out, but I'm thinking about like gay marriage and abortion and stuff like that. And sometimes, maybe I'm wrong, my mindset is, our culture seems to be choosing certain things, and I don't know if me voting or the church voting how we have is going to actually do anything. We can go back in the back and forth phase.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, no, this I haven't bought into the idea that this is a Christian nation. And so I'm like, no, this is a nation with a bunch of different religions, a bunch of different ideas and philosophies, and we can't even figure out if, we're a capitalist country or a socialist country. Like, we're a hodgepodge. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, the best way for me to work through, to advance God's kingdom and to handle a lot of these issues, trying to love God and love people best I can with them is, I'm going to accept how the culture is choosing to behave and the policies they're choosing, whether they line up with my values or not. And I'm going to try to, I guess maybe I'm not putting as much faith in my vote. Because I guess thinking about the gay marriage thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I'm everywhere.
No.
The gay marriage. When I vote, I'm not thinking about criminalizing gay marriage.
Okay.
I'm like, no, I think there's things that we allow to be legal that, as Christians we believe are sin, but we're okay with it. You don't go to jail for lying. Kids do it all the time. Like there's things like that where we have this. I don't know. There's just some things that's like you're gonna deal with it on your own, and the government's not gonna really impose on it until it gets to like a more criminal level.
Sure.
And so with gay marriage, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, as a Christian, I'm trying to accept that our country legalizes gay marriage. And I'm like, I feel like it's a waste of energy for me to keep fighting that over and over again. Instead, I'm going to love my neighbor in a country that's definitely not Christian, because I feel like I'm more in Babylon. And so I'm just going to live my Christian values out. I'm going to be the light in the world. And I'm going to place faith on things, sin changing by just living as a Christian in the world.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it does, but I would kind of probe and want some more clarification. Like, so if we're just having this conversation. So what if I hear you right, what you're saying is, and I'm not sure which way, so definitely don't let me speak for you, is when you go into the voting booth, you don't feel like your vote not necessarily doesn't matter on these specific topics, but you're still going to love them regardless. But is it, as you're going into it, it's like, okay, well, this is the culture, this is the way the culture is going, so therefore I'm just going to vote with the culture? I'm just trying to figure out which direction we're kind of saying here.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask why you're kind of mulling that,
Yeah.
and again, you respond, it's like, so, and there's so many different layers. I mean, we could take literally every single topic. I mean, I don't care if it's, economy or finance or economy or marriage or, myriad of topics we could talk about as far as politics go. But like, so for abortion, like again, if we're like, I have three, I guess, big things, like no matter, and this is life going into the voting booth or wherever else, is Jesus is Lord. And I know that sounds like, well, no duh. But it's like he's king. His authority means that my emotions, my past experience, my preferences, all submit to him. You know what I mean? So like, it doesn't matter what background I came from or even what my personal preference is or emotions or anything else. Like, it truly has to come underneath his authority. And so again, I'm gonna, the character of God, the Word of God, the Spirit of God, all those kind of things, I'm gonna yield to in every single topic. It has to come to that. Like, what does he say about this? Yeah. And so I have to do that first. Just again, every life is sacred. That just has to be. And what's funny is, I think, Austin, if we really, really got people, like if you had people from all three parties or main two parties and independents kind of thing, and you ask them that, like, does every life matter? I think they would all say yes. But the practicality of it, I think is where it begins to blur the lines and things of that nature. Because if we're talking about immigration or we're talking about marriage or whatever else, abortion, we say every life matters, and for somebody who's going to say, well, we're pro-life, we're gonna speak for the voiceless, that child's life matters. I mean, we're going to have to start talking about that. And then for the other one, whichever side, whatever party, but they're on the other side kind of thing, they're like, yeah, but what about the mother's life? You know what I mean? So we're talking about lives, but again, it's we have to peel the layers back. And then, okay, well, why do we believe this and what, kind of thing. So I think that's extremely important. And when it comes to the other one, for me, is family / marriage is extremely important to the heart of God, because he just is throughout Scripture.
Yeah.
I mean, so when it comes to family, I'm a child of God. He's my father. I mean, there you have family dynamic. We're the family of God, brothers and sisters of Christ. I mean, all those kind of things. We are the bride of Christ. And that marriage, literally, God's not reacting like, oh, here's marriage. Oh, yeah, that would really be cool if I kind of tied that in like preachers do, like to my character then. No, it's like, I made this to reflect my relationship with you. Like, it's not vice versa. Like, this is the whole intent of marriage, is to reflect Christ, his relationship to the bride. And so I go into the booth having to have conviction about what those are. But like you said, for people that would disagree, and if the party or platform or candidate or whatever else is in kind of in charge, they're the ones elected, I still have these, but how I treat, you know what I mean, people or these issues is still going to fall underneath the very first one. Jesus is Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So go back to yours. I know I kind of went on a rant there, but for yours, like, just help me clarify. So when you go into the booth, is it my vote? Because, I mean, a lot of people, you hear this a lot. Like, people don't vote at all because they're like, my vote doesn't really matter. They're going to do whatever they want to do. That's just kind of the mentality.
I definitely struggle with that sometimes. More so because I struggle to find a place in any political camp. And just anytime I've had conversations with people, I'm like, no, this is like how I'm voting. People from the two camps will be like, well, your vote doesn't matter. You just voted for some rando. Like, if you vote like third party or...
I know. You're taking away from another one.
And I'm just like, well, thanks. I guess my vote was trash. Let's toss it in the bin. So I do struggle with that. But then I do still try to vote majority of the time. But then there's the struggle of, I have some values that I'm holding on to. And I think, kind of like you said, womb to tomb before.
Yes.
I'm thinking of that. So I'm not for abortion. I'm not. I'm thinking about refugees and immigrants.
Yes.
Part of that is Jesus was a refugee, and that really convicted me because we was watching there's some bills being passed about the refugees a couple years back, and a president who said that he was going to specifically make sure Christian refugees were taken care of, then backtracked on that because they all looked like terrorists. And I'm like, well, Jesus literally was a refugee, and he probably looked like a terrorist in your eyes. And so there's that challenge that I was wrestling with, and just trying to better understand some of the culture and the people in these Middle Eastern countries specifically, and how much they're being terrorized on a daily basis. And you're like, no, these refugees are like, they're in the same boat as us. They're terrified for their lives. They don't want a 9/11 to happen in their own country. And then immigration. I have a cousin who, she's been trying to become a citizen for as long as she's been here. She was brought over here as a young child. She had no choice to be over here. And we try to get her through the legal route, and it's just so painfully hard. And so I'm thinking through, those are some of the values I'm thinking through. And so then with like a gay marriage, I'm like, well, that's not a life or death issue in my mind. And so culture, take it. I'm not assuming that us putting a law in place
is going to stop.
I'm like, people are going to love whoever they're going to love.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, if I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
how can we be most effective
Yeah.
while still maintaining those Christian values, I'm like, okay, I want to focus on the abortion area,
Okay,
refugee, immigrant. Like,
No. Yeah.
Does that make some more
Yeah,
sense?
definitely.
Thank you for asking the question because I don't. Yeah, I think I was struggling too.
No, yeah. But the reason too, like I asked that is like, all right, so say like for gun control, and again, a lot of it gets to policy.
Yeah.
Like, and here's the thing too, like you kind of open up with politicians, and even if they would profess to be believers, kind of thing, the loops and the things they have to do to get in those positions. I mean, man, I mean, there are churches or believers who just like this total disconnect between church and state, church and politics, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So therefore Christians just stay out of it. You know what I mean? And again, I just don't think the Bible really allows a lot of that. And I know like with the Daniel or Joseph, they were kind of forced into some of those roles. I get that. But I mean, how awesome would it be for believers who are very strong in their faith to pursue any and all, positions, including even in politics. And I know everybody's like, well, just that you can't do that. Well, again, who says? Like, you may not win. Yeah. I don't know.
But they'd be representing a group of people.
For sure.
Yeah.
But just the policy aspect of it, kind of full circle, I guess, to the marriage. So like gun control. Okay, so, we don't have to wait till November. And, it's just, it's even hard to talk about because it seems it's a weekly, almost, multi times during the week that there is a mass shooting at a school. And we're like, why? And then on both sides, so then you get, like we talked about last time, with the fear aspect of it is, so there's the fear of, guns. We should just take all of them. Just, there shouldn't be any on the streets. Let's just, make them all illegal. Go into that, and then the other side is like, you can't take my guns, and I'm the fear of them taking the guns, and then what does that mean for me protecting that, all that kind of stuff, right? But the policy aspect of it, I don't know for many, and again, I'm not a politician, I'm not even trying to show my hand and what I believe kind of thing, but like there should be, we don't want anybody to just be able to walk in any place and buy as many guns as they can. Like I just, so there should be policy. And I'm a hunter. I'm an advocate for guns. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like protecting home and stuff like that. But there should be some policies. Like there really should be some things. And I just don't think there's a whole lot of give and take. I think just like with anything, the pendulum, it's just on one side or the other. It's like, get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
Or let me have as many as I want, get them any kind of way I want. What? Was there no middle ground?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From both sides on.
I'm with you on that. But from probably a little bit of a different take.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of guns.
Okay.
I really despise them. I'm not. I didn't grow up a hunter too, so maybe that plays a part of it. But guns, I have a genuine fear of guns, and there's just been some moments in my life where it's really overpowered me. Mm-hmm. But me and my boss talk about it a lot because he's a hunter.
Yeah.
And he wants to protect his family. Like he grew up with that mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him like, I get that. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'm someone who I don't know if I'd call myself a full-blown pacifist.
Yeah.
But I definitely would maybe lean more that way than I'm just not the aggressive, violent type. Mm-hmm. Part of that's me working on my anger. Mm-hmm. But with the gun debate specifically, I'm like, as someone who doesn't like guns, I'm like, I don't care if Robbie has a gun or Joey has a gun or whoever has a gun. Mm-hmm. Like that makes sense why you'd want to protect your home. Mm-hmm. Or, growing up in the South, it's normal for people to go hunt. Mm-hmm. I love the meat y'all produce for us. Thank you. I love the sausage dogs. But then I'm also like, yeah, I can see why we need better gun laws. It is crazy sometimes how these kids are getting the guns, or even just the shooters in general getting the guns. Yeah. And even me and Berlin were watching The Daily Show the other day, and they went to a gun convention. Mm-hmm. And the guy was like, so like, what's how do y'all do this? And it was just like random people coming up off the street, and they're like, I'm just going to sell my gun. And he's like, well, how do you, like, what's the procedure? Like, do you have a background check? And they're like, I just look them up and down and, try to hear the story a little bit. Me and Berlin laughed, but then we're also like, this is like more middle of the country. I don't know how it is in Georgia. I don't really understand all the gun laws. But after seeing that, I'm like, yeah, there probably should be a better procedure on how to sell guns.
Sure.
Even just between two individuals. But then I'm also like, yeah, I don't think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I agree with you and I'm coming from a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and I love that. And I was going to ask you that because again, not to speak for you, but I thought, because again, I grew up not only hunting, I grew up and again, much, much older than you, where we could have guns in our trucks at school unlocked and not a shooting ever happened. Not a fight. Nobody even got it out, kind of like ever. Like it just, and I get it's a totally different time. And so I don't live in that like, oh, well, that's how we used to do kind of thing. But I mean, it was what it was. So for me, yeah, like the issue is not, okay, get rid of them or I'm going to, but it's how people get them and just the reality of today. Like it's not, I don't even say 30 years ago. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
And school shootings are happening. And so now what do we do about it? So for me, it's that. It's not just living in the past. And the other thing too, man, I'm always just like, when these things occur, and God, this is just something God's really had to deal with me too, because with social media and I people with the memes and stuff and they'll even use like, well, and if you're hearing this, it's probably going to offend you, so sorry. Because I am a gun advocate. I mean, hear my heart on this. I am. But then people will say, well, Cain, it wasn't the rock that killed Cain. You know what I mean? Like, so don't do that. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, one is just being very sensitive to the victims' families. I mean, not that they're going to see it, but it's just the whole mindset behind that. Like, I get that. And if all the guns were taken away, well, would they be sold illegally? Yes, we know that. I mean, that happens with anything. Or would there not be school bombings? I mean, there's stuff like that. We live in an evil world where evil's going to take place.
Yeah.
But can we put policy in it? Hey, man, I get, I'm not a politician, and I get that there are some things that you would have to work through. But Carrie and I were even talking after the latest shooting. And my thing is always like, because I love our military, our men and women who serve, and I hear story after story, and you watch of military coming home and just how they can't find jobs and think. I'm like, okay, mass shootings, we need security, maybe military who go through the process, because I know there's a lot of dynamic there. I mean, I get all that, but I don't know. I mean, can we possibly kind of go down that road, eventually? I don't know. I just think that if both sides would come together, or all sides would come together, that we might make this, safer for our kids in our schools. Yeah. If we actually work together on some of this.
Yeah.
Instead of just tearing each other apart, because either get rid of the guns or let me keep all my guns and make this as easy as possible for everybody to get guns, no matter who they are, background, how old, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to I think this is another example. And it's a little bit more controversial one probably, but the abortion issue.
Yes.
Me and you have never really gotten full deep in. I don't think I've ever done that with anybody besides Berlin and a couple friends. Yeah. But the abortion issue is a complicated one. Me and Berlin talk about it a lot. Of the struggle of being against abortion, because I do believe it's murder. I don't think there's any denying that. But then,
well, not us. I mean, people would deny it's murder because they're actually not human beings. Yeah.
But then, my struggle with it is, I do the best way I can feel the pain of the women who are like, well, I've been raped, or I've been I financially can't take care of this kid.
Sure.
just being lots of different dynamics with it, and or them feeling like their kid's going to grow up in a bad environment, and they can't give them anything better. I do feel a lot of that pain. I'm like, man, even though it's a clear thing in my mind, abortion is murder. I'm also like, well, I want to have a lot of grace on how we go about fighting it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, man, can we find a better way to shepherd these women and love and care for them in a way that they don't even feel like that has to be an option, or that we can kind of bear that burden, especially when you're dealing with someone who's like a rape victim, instead of just being like, you've been raped, well, you can't murder the baby, you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And them having to deal with that, that's a very traumatizing thing.
Oh, emotionally, yeah, for sure.
Even though there are these good stories out there of
they are
of ways it turns out, there's also a lot of trauma and bad stories out there as well.
Yeah.
And trying to that's a tough one, I feel like, because even as I'm kind of understanding the white evangelical black Protestant divide, they both agree that abortion is wrong, but then the way they go about fighting it is a little differently. And that's one of those things that I thought just all Christians voted one way on that issue, and there's a good bit of Christians who that's like their single issue that they vote on. But then understanding that the church in different pockets, they're finding different ways to handle it. I'm like, okay, maybe there's middle ground on. I don't even know the solution to that. I'm just speaking.
No.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that is the most weighty for me.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, so if we're talking about marriage, well, that's, again, I mean, not always, because there are some things that we could talk about that is not, I mean, whether there's age or certain things that technically the majority anyway is two consenting adults, right? Like, so this is not, I mean, you got to have a clear, this is what I believe about marriage, but this is not abortion, life and death. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not belittling, one above the, or, setting one above the other, or vice versa kind of thing. I'm just saying, so that is not that, or we talk about the economy and stuff. I mean, there's stuff, obviously, the trickle-down effect that does become life and death. But what I'm saying is with abortion, okay, is that a life? I mean, that's where that begins, kind of. You got to start with there, is that a life? And for me, with the incarnation of Christ, that just does it. I mean, you just, you either believe that or not, because if God, who's always been God, Jesus has always eternally existed, and he didn't just come as a 2-year-old, he went the actual full stint with Mary being overshadowed by the Spirit. So he went through the entire 9, months, and was fully alive. So that, for me, it ends the debate there. I mean, as far as, is it a life? Is that, so we got to start there though. But then secondly, to your point, so even how we react. So let's just own this, believers. And it still happens, but you don't hear it nearly as much. But there was a stretch where Christians were literally bombing abortion clinics.
Yeah.
Okay, how helpful is that? I mean, again, hindsight, we can look at Christianity. We have not always knocked it out of the park, whether we're talking about slavery or we're talking about, abortion kind of thing. So, and again, regardless of whether there was life in there, God forbid that happened. So you're speaking for the unborn, and yet people are dying. But even if it's just destroying property, I mean, really? I mean, is that the best way to go about that? No, I don't think so. But I don't think that's happening as much. But again, think of both sides. So I get, like, when people who say, well, not only you have rape victims and incest and the ones that are very, even morally, if I believe abortion's wrong. Okay, well, you've got to address those issues. And those are hard issues. You're talking about a 13-year-old that's been raped by her uncle.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's a tough one, and you got to try and navigate it. But when it comes to, for us as believers, that all life matters, and the ones who would say, okay, but if you make it illegal, Well, now you're bringing in, they're not just going to an abortion clinic where there's licensed, trained physicians who are able to do it. They're able, so the mother or, the woman is then able to recover and live. Now they're doing it on the street where she could possibly die.
Yeah.
So now you're taking her life. You know what I mean? So there's all the underneath you got to deal with.
Complex
Absolutely. Whether you make it legal or not. Not just going into it where it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
There are ramifications. And just like, where we're talking about marijuana, where we're talking about this or this or this, when go again back to your marriage and being legal. I mean, if it's legal or not, again, is that life or death, kind of thing versus the abortion, you know what I mean, in other areas, which really is life and death. And you have to look at it at both sides.
Yeah.
As far as the unborn child, which Scripture is very clear on, that we are to speak up for and protect, but also that young lady or that lady, that woman, that mother, I mean, it's her life too that we're wanting to protect.
Yeah.
And holistically, not just, okay, if she has an illegal abortion, but like you said, emotionally, mentally, the whole nine, spiritually, we got to care for her as well. Yeah. So it's many layers, man.
I guess that's I feel like a helpful way to talk about it. It's just I didn't want to tell people this is how you should vote, because I'm sure me and you have different ways we lean on certain issues, on how we best think you should go about them. But I think as Christians, understanding that it's more complicated than just, like you said, the memes that are posted there's we probably should have way more grace on the politicians at times, because the things they're having to think through of they're governing, like, we have one of the biggest countries in the world. You're trying to govern all these people and create a law, but you have to factor in like a bajillion different ways that can apply to people. And like that, I'm glad, like we think about just me and you in elders and deacons meetings and having to think through the complexities of taking care of 200 people. And that's tough, because every time we feel like we've covered all the bases, there's another base that we missed. And that's us doing our due diligence. I feel like we have a good diversity in our leadership of, we all have like different pockets of the church that we kind of are more close to, so we can represent a good majority of them. But even then, you're still like, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah.
Or what about the new group that'll come in?
Yeah. And
that's hard. And so to think about a politician and then them having to, I'm just like, man, prayers for you.
Yeah, which is what we're supposed to do for all those in leadership. And the other thing too, I would just say, kind of pastoral, but just for us as believers, Austin, is again to be sensitive, man. Like not just your posting, but you, like for me as a preacher, or if you're teaching, or you're just speaking to another believer, kind of thing. But definitely if they're seeing it and you're not even aware they're seeing it, kind of thing. Like, so, because again, we can get very heated and we're very passionate about some of these things. And so specifically, like just about abortion, or if it's the sexuality, like, just remember other people who are struggling with that. So like they're seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, maybe they don't speak up.
Yeah.
Just be careful. Like, so for me, like with abortion, I'm going to speak and preach, and if anybody asks, I'll tell them, biblically my views, kind of stuff. But I also want to be extremely mindful, man, that there are ladies that are in our church right now that have had abortions in their past.
Yeah.
And so again, I want to be very sensitive, because they feel like it's the mistake they just cannot be forgiven ever. That they'll that scarlet A on the, you know what I mean? Like, and there's guys, I mean, don't overlook that have, their whomever, girlfriend, whatever at the time, they're part of it too.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, so just being very sensitive that some people are struggling with it now. Some are struggling because they've made decisions in the past. and that trickles to immigration or anything else. I mean, just to be mindful of the people that you're around and how you express your views.
Yeah.
In humility and with grace. So.
I love it.